This is the Dive Into Discovery podcast, where curiosity meets insight, and every conversation uncovers a new layer of understanding.
All right, so picture this. You're living 74,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Early humans are just starting to, spread out across the globe, figuring things out.
Right.
Then, boom, the largest volcanic eruption in 2 million years just rocks the planet.
Wow.
We are diving deep today into the Toba supervolcano eruption and the theory that it almost wiped out humanity.
Yeah.
So did this eruption really cause a bottleneck in human evolution, leaving just a few thousand survivors? What kind of world did they even face after this happened? We've got excerpts from some pretty fascinating research on the Toba Catastrophe Theory.
Okay.
That's going to help us kind of unpack this whole thing.
Yeah. So what's fascinating to me is just the sheer scale of this event. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not talking about just your average volcanic eruption here. This was a supervolcano.
Okay.
And when this thing blew, it ejected 2,800 cubic kilometers of material straight into the atmosphere.
2,800 cubic kilometers.
Yeah, that's enough to bury the entire state of Texas under 6 feet of ash.
Oh, wait, okay, hold on. 6 feet of ash? That's like the height of a basketball player?
Yeah. A lot.
To cover all of Texas? That's absolutely mind-blowing. So this wasn't just some local event then, was it?
No, not at all. The Toba eruption was a global event.
Oh.
So think about it. A massive ash cloud,
Okay.
bigger than anything you can imagine, blanketing the sky, blocking out the sun.
Oh, wow.
It would plunge the entire world into a volcanic winter, causing temperatures to plummet. And that's exactly what the evidence shows us.
So you're telling me the Earth essentially went through a massive ice age because of one volcano?
Yeah, that's right.
That's insane.
Yeah, the effects would have been just devastating. I mean, crops would have failed, ecosystems would have been disrupted, entire species could have been wiped out.
Wow.
It's hard to even fathom the impact on early humans who were already struggling to survive as it was.
So we've got this cataclysmic eruption, right?
Right.
But how do we know it actually caused this population bottleneck?
Right.
What's the evidence that ties this specific event to human evolution?
Well, scientists have been studying human genetics for decades now, and they found something really interesting. Around 74,000 years ago, there was a significant decrease in genetic diversity among human populations. And guess what? That lines up perfectly with the timing of the Toba eruption.
Wait a minute. So you're saying there's like a fingerprint in our DNA that points back to this eruption?
Precisely. It's like a genetic echo of this catastrophic event.
That's wild.
And there's more ice core data from Greenland, and Antarctica reveals layers of volcanic ash and sulfuric acid, dating back to that exact same time period.
Oh, wow.
This confirms the global reach of the eruption and its impact on the climate. So the Earth itself actually kept a record of this event.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like the Earth is telling us the story of its own near-death experience. And ours too. So we've got this bottleneck, this dramatic reduction in the human population.
Right.
But we obviously survived somehow.
Yeah.
How did our ancestors pull through such a catastrophic event? I mean, if the whole world is covered in ash and plunged into a deep freeze, how does anyone survive that?
That's a question that has puzzled scientists for years.
Yeah.
Imagine the challenges. Colder temperatures, food shortages, increased competition for resources.
Yeah.
It must have been a constant fight for survival.
Right.
But there is a theory that attempts to explain how some humans made it through.
Okay.
It's called the refugia hypothesis.
The refugee hypothesis. What's that all about?
Well, imagine pockets of the world where the impact of the eruption wasn't as severe.
Okay.
Maybe these were areas with slightly warmer temperatures, access to water, or perhaps unique ecosystems that were more resilient to all these changes.
Right.
These areas could have acted as refuges, allowing small populations of humans to survive and retain a higher level of genetic diversity.
So like little pockets of hope amidst this global disaster.
Exactly.
That's incredible to think about. But is there any actual evidence to support this idea?
There is genetic studies show that African populations have greater genetic diversity compared to other populations around the world. This suggests that perhaps those refuges, those pockets of survival, were located in Africa, allowing a larger and more diverse group of humans to weather the storm, so to speak.
Okay, so we've got this dramatic story of near extinction, pockets of survival,
Yeah.
and a possible explanation for how humanity pulled through.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling it's not that simple, right? There must be more to the story.
You're absolutely right. The Toba Catastrophe Theory isn't without its critics. Not all scientists agree on the severity of the bottleneck.
Okay.
And some argue that human populations were larger and more resilient than the theory suggests.
So maybe we didn't come quite as close to disappearing as some scientists first thought?
Yeah, that's a possibility.
What's the evidence for that side of the argument?
Well, one of the most compelling pieces of evidence comes from India. Archaeologists have found stone tools,
Okay.
both above and below the layer of Toba ash. This suggests that human populations in that region were present before, during, and after the eruption.
Wait, hold on. So people were living right through this massive eruption.
It seems that way.
That just blows my mind. Tell me more about those stone tools in India. What do they tell us about how these people survived?
Well, the fact that we find tools both above and below that ash layer suggests a continuous human presence in that region.
Right.
It seems that some groups were able to adapt and survive, even in areas that were heavily impacted by the eruption.
Wow.
They may have found ways to cope with the ashfall, the changes in climate, and the scarcity of resources.
So maybe some groups were tougher than we thought. What kind of adaptations might have helped them survive such extreme conditions?
That's a question researchers are still trying to answer.
Yeah?
It's possible that some groups had knowledge of local plants and animals that were more resilient to the changes brought on by the eruption. Or perhaps they developed new technologies or social structures that allowed them to cooperate and share resources more effectively.
It's like a giant detective story with scientists piecing together clues from the past
Yeah,
to understand how humans survived this incredible challenge.
it really is.
It's a reminder that our understanding of the past is always evolving as new evidence emerges.
That's right.
And this story is about so much more than just one volcanic eruption. It touches on themes of human resilience, adaptability, and the power of nature to shape our destiny.
Absolutely. Whether it was a near extinction event or simply a major hurdle to overcome, the Toba eruption undeniably shaped the course of human evolution. And it might even have played a role in our eventual spread across the globe.
Now that's a really intriguing thought. Imagine if this eruption hadn't happened. Would our world be different today? Would humans have evolved differently? Would we even be here having this conversation?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
It's impossible to say for sure what would happen if the Toba eruption had never occurred.
Right.
But it's certainly a thought-provoking question to consider.
It really makes you think about the incredible chain of events that led to us being here today. From a handful of survivors huddled around a fire to billions of people spread across the globe. It's a testament to our resilience and our ability to thrive, even in the face of incredible adversity.
It's a humbling thought, isn't it?
It is.
The Toba eruption serves as a stark reminder of the power of nature and the precariousness of our existence. But it also highlights the incredible adaptability and ingenuity of our species.
You know, as we're talking about this, I can't help but think about the challenges that we face today. Climate change, environmental degradation, and a host of other issues that threaten our planet and our future. Do you think there are any lessons we can learn from the Toba eruption that might help us navigate these modern-day challenges?
That's a crucial point. The Toba eruption is a powerful reminder that our species has faced and overcome incredible challenges in the past. It shows us that we have the capacity for resilience, innovation, and adaptation. And perhaps most importantly, it reminds us that we are all connected, that our fate is intertwined with the fate of our planet.
So while the Toba eruption was a catastrophic event, it also offers a glimmer of hope. It shows us that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds, humanity can find a way to survive and even thrive.
Exactly. By studying events like the Toba eruption, we can gain a deeper understanding of our own history, our potential, and our responsibility to protect our planet and ensure the future of our species.
Well said. It's a story that compels us to keep asking questions, to keep exploring, and to keep learning from the past to illuminate our present and our future. So while we may not have all the answers about the Toba eruption and its impact on human evolution, the search for understanding continues.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of science. It's a never-ending quest for knowledge.
Right.
And with each new discovery, we gain a deeper appreciation for the complexity and wonder of our world and our place within it.
Well, folks, that concludes our deep dive into the Toba eruption. We hope you've enjoyed this journey through time, and that it has sparked your curiosity about the forces that has shaped our planet and our species. What are your thoughts on this incredible event? Does it change your perspective on human history or the challenges we face today? We encourage you to continue exploring this topic and to share your thoughts with us. Thanks for listening. Okay, so we've been talking about this massive eruption and how it might have almost wiped us out. But you mentioned that not all scientists agree on how bad that bottleneck really was.
Right.
Can you tell us a little more about this side of the debate?
Absolutely. While the Toba Catastrophe Theory is definitely compelling, it's important to remember that science is all about questioning and testing our assumptions.
Right.
And there are some scientists who argue that the evidence doesn't necessarily point to a near extinction event.
So what are their main arguments? What makes them question how bad the Toba bottleneck really was?
Well, one of the key points they bring up is the evidence of continuous human presence in certain regions, even in those covered by the Toba ash. We talked about those stone tools found in India, both above and below the ash layer.
Right.
That suggests at least some groups were able to adapt and keep their populations going, even in areas directly hit by the eruption.
So maybe the picture wasn't as bleak as we first thought.
Yeah.
That some human groups were tougher than we give them credit for.
Exactly. It's possible that human populations were more widespread and adaptable than the classic bottleneck theory suggests. And some scientists even propose that other factors, maybe climate shifts that weren't related to Toba, could have contributed to population changes around that time.
So the debate really comes down to how much of an impact Toba had. Not whether it had any impact at all, right? Because it was obviously a huge event.
You got it. There's no denying how big the Toba eruption was, but how much it shaped human evolution is still a very open question. And that's the cool thing about science, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's an ongoing process of discovery, questioning, refining our understanding as new evidence pops up.
It's like having this giant puzzle, and each new piece of evidence we find helps us see the full picture more clearly. So where do we go from here? What are the next steps in figuring this whole thing out? What are scientists working on now?
Well, researchers are still analyzing genetic data, archaeological findings, climate records from that time period. They're trying to get a more accurate picture of human populations and what the environment was like around the time of the eruption.
Yeah.
And they're also studying other supervolcanic eruptions throughout Earth's history to see if there are any patterns or anything we can learn about the effects of these events on life in general.
So while we may not have all the answers yet, the search for understanding goes on. And in the meantime, we can look at the Toba eruption and just marvel at how powerful nature is.
Yeah.
And the resilience of our ancestors who figured out how to survive and thrive, even while dealing with these incredible challenges.
That's a great point. It's a story that really highlights the amazing journey our species has been on, from those early survivors to the billions of people we have on Earth today. It's a story of adaptation, innovation, and in the end, hope.
You know, thinking about this whole thing, it really does make you appreciate that delicate balance of life on Earth. And it makes you wonder what other secrets and surprises are still out there waiting to be found as we keep exploring this fascinating story of human history.
Exactly. There's so much more to learn.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the Toba eruption.
It's been a fascinating one.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. We hope you've enjoyed exploring this really cool chapter in human history, and maybe it sparked some new questions for you to think about. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
What did you think of this week's episode? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to join us next time as we dive even deeper. And as always, stay curious, because you never know what discoveries are just around the corner.